Nintendo has been in a bit of a hot seat this past week, and there are two stories floating around that I definitely want to talk about. The first story involves Nintendo and YouTube. Nintendo is targeting some bigger YouTube channels that have Nintendo music on them, and I think there's a lot of interesting sides to this story and things that we need to discover to see why Nintendo is angering all these fans of their own music. And it looks like Nintendo Switch could potentially be getting a tier system, where different tiers are offered for different game consoles and even more things, and that's a subject that I definitely want to dive into, because once again, I think there's a lot of different layers to it and there's a lot of different sides to look at to it. So what's going on with Nintendo and YouTube channels when it comes to their music? And are tiers a good or bad thing for Nintendo Switch Online? That's what we're going to figure out in this video. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about what's been going on in the world of Nintendo.
Hey, RGT85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my god, it's Stevie Richards! So the first story I want to talk about is definitely this Nintendo and YouTube music related thing, because I think there's a lot of different sides to look at when you're looking at this. I don't think it's quite as black and white as people are making it out to be, and I think there's really three sides to the story. One side of the story, Nintendo's side of the story, and then somewhere in the middle would be the actual truth with this. So obviously when you go on YouTube, you can find a bunch of Nintendo songs. I use Nintendo songs as background music for a lot of my videos, and there's a big channel by the name of Gilva Sunner, which has been around for quite a while, that basically offered extended cuts of Nintendo tracks. You can go to his channel and check out different extended cuts of popular songs from games like Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda. All of the classic Nintendo songs were on this website, or on this YouTube channel, and of course they were extended versions of them. Well, Gilva Sunner ended up getting a bunch of copyright claims, not copyright strikes. We'll talk about the difference between those two in just a moment, from Nintendo, basically blocking his videos from being played worldwide. So the difference between a copyright claim and a copyright strike is when you get copyright strikes, you're only allowed 3 copyright strikes, and then YouTube will terminate your channel. With a copyright claim, it's basically just someone else claiming the content that is in these videos and then saying, hey, you can't use these, thus making the video unplayable in certain regions, or in some cases worldwide. Now, of course, Gilva Sunner is probably very upset by this. He has literally hundreds of claims from Nintendo on his videos for these music things, and I definitely can understand why he's upset by this. His channel has been around for quite a while, it hasn't been causing anyone any trouble, and now Nintendo is coming in and essentially making his channel worthless because of all these copyright claims. He can no longer promote these videos. Now, I do think Nintendo does have somewhat of a case, but I also think Nintendo is in the wrong here as well. The way Nintendo could have a legitimate case in this is if the individual was making money off of these videos. If he was monetizing these extended cut videos and basically just placing ads in between them, then I could sort of understand why Nintendo would be upset by this. But in the same breath, it's not like you can get Nintendo music on any other music services. Nintendo music and soundtracks are not available on any music services. So the only way to listen to these Nintendo soundtracks is to either A, play the game, or B, own the actual soundtrack, unless you're going to YouTube to listen to these, or you're pirating them via torrents and things like that. So I don't understand why Nintendo would necessarily go after this individual if they are not able to play this music anywhere else. I guess it's sort of like the ROMs and the emulators. But with the ROMs and emulators, obviously Nintendo is trying to promote their classic games to some degree with the NES Online service, which we'll talk about later on in this video. But with music, there's no way for Nintendo to do anything with this, because they're not making money off of it, because they're not selling the music anywhere. It's not on Spotify, it's not on things like iTunes, which I don't even think exists anymore. I don't know, I don't buy much digital music. But you see the case I'm making here? I don't understand why Nintendo is doing this if there's no other alternative, if there's no other option. At least with something like ROMs and things like that, Nintendo could say, well, you could play them on the Wii U. There's a lot more ROMs on the Wii U than there is on the Nintendo Switch. But with music, they can't say that. So it's definitely a very interesting situation, and as a content creator myself, it kind of makes me second guess using Nintendo music in my videos. If I'm making a video and I use a Nintendo song in the background, does that make it okay as long as I'm talking over it? What if I pause to put up a funny picture or make a funny joke or something like that, and I have some dead audio that just has the music? Is that video going to get copyright claim because it's using a Nintendo song? So it definitely makes me very leery. Nintendo has finally been doing good things with their YouTube services as far as being able to use game footage and of course trailers in your videos. You used to not be able to use a lot of Nintendo footage or Nintendo trailers in your videos without Nintendo themselves claiming the video. They did away with their creators program, which was absolutely archaic and stupid, and it really made a lot of people want to cover Nintendo stuff more. But now they're sort of backtracking on that with this music situation. So it's definitely something I'm going to keep my eye on. As a content creator who likes to use Nintendo music in my backgrounds, I'm going to have to probably think twice about using Nintendo songs. I'm going to have to see how this plays out as well. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this situation. Do you think Nintendo songs should be on things like Spotify Spotify so you could actually listen to them without having to go to YouTube. Who do you think is in the right and who do you think is in the wrong in this situation? Me personally, I can see both sides of the coin, but I'm definitely sort of in the middle, and I think that Nintendo kind of needs to backpedal on this a bit. And the other story we have to talk about is something that is slowly picking up steam. I know Spawnwave and FU Game Crew, both buddies of mine, made a video on this last night, but I definitely wanted to put my 2 cents in on it because it seems like the Nintendo Switch Online service is going to be getting different tiers potentially. This is something that's been hinted at in the Wall Street Journal and of course Neki, which is a big Japanese publication that we've talked about on this channel before, but now more and more people are starting to think that this tier system is coming to the Nintendo Switch. And honestly, I think there's both good things and bad things that could come from this. I definitely think when you're talking about a tier system with Nintendo Switch Online, there needs to be an asterisk there. No, it needs to be bigger than that. Alright, that's a good size asterisk. That's a big enough asterisk because I am sort of for it as long as all of these conditions are met in some way, shape, or form, or at least some of these conditions are met, because I'm not willing to give Nintendo a pass on this. So the train of thought is that Nintendo will be offering more consoles via their online service with different tiers. So basically you pay more money and you get access to more consoles. Now first and foremost, if this involves a Super Nintendo, just stop what you're doing, Nintendo, because this is a terrible idea. You need to include the Super Nintendo at the $20 price point that is available now. You said that Super Nintendo and NES games were going to be available on Nintendo Switch Online. We are rapidly approaching the 1-year anniversary of the Nintendo Switch Online. We have this Super Nintendo controller patent that has just been revealed, so a lot of people are thinking that Super Nintendo games are going to be introduced to Nintendo Switches Online potentially on the 1-year anniversary of the service. Fine with me, I'm looking forward to that, but do not charge people extra to access these Super Nintendo games. You initially said they were going to be available and then you just dragged your feet and released NES games like, of course, the wonderful Mighty Bomb Jack and Solomon's Key, two of my favorite games of all time. Now, as far as the other consoles are concerned, I'm not against the tier system, and I do think that it could be good, but other conditions must be met. If you're just saying, well, if you pay $30 a year, you get Super Nintendo, NES, and N64, but if you pay $40 a year, you get Super Nintendo, NES, N64, and GameCube, no, that's not good enough for me, because the Nintendo Switch Online needs more features. Playing Friday the 13th with my friends is absolutely a chore because of the way the Nintendo Switch is set up. When you played it on the PS4, you could do a private lobby and get in a lobby with your friends and then search for a match, because that's built into the PS4, a party system. Since the Nintendo Switch does not have a party system, we basically have to correlate when we're going to search for a match so that we can all search for a match together, and fingers crossed that we all get in there. You can also try to join a match, but matches join up so quickly and people join these matches so quickly that sometimes you get locked out of it. Now, if the Nintendo Switch had a party system and a lobby system, we wouldn't have to worry about that because we could all search for this system and we could all search for the game at the same time. That's the main thing this tier system needs to have. I think if you're going to charge more money, you can't charge more money for just simply systems. You have to add in additional features. And on the flip side of this, I don't think people would necessarily be that upset if they're getting a experience that is on par or at least close to something like you would get on the Xbox One or the PS4 in terms of online. If you're doing things like party chat, party systems, maybe more discounts on games, and a large plethora of systems to choose from in the Nintendo Switch's online service, like, that's a good thing. I don't think people would have a problem forking over $40 or $50, you know, the same price point of the PlayStation Network service and of course Xbox Live if you're getting these additional features. That's what it really boils down to, people. I think the games are great and people are going to want games. I think you just need to offer it like this. If you have the Nintendo Switch, you pay $20 a year for the service, you get Super Nintendo games, you get NES games, you get cloud saves that of course didn't save my Dragon Quest Builders 2 file. And of course you get the option to play your games online. And then there's a $50 tier where you get more systems, you get things like party chat, you get a lobby system, you can voice chat with friends, basic features that should be included. If Nintendo is going to do tiers and they don't do something like this, they do it strictly based on games, I honestly think they're going to get a lot of negative feedback on this situation. And really, I will be at the helm of that negative feedback, spearheading it, because I want more features for my Nintendo Switch Online. With more and more games coming out for the Nintendo Switch that have online features, we need these basic features to be able to play with our friends. It's time to improve the service. It got off to a rocky start. It's still in a rocky position. Just improve upon it. Adding in more games is great, but adding in features is even greater. I think people will be much more willing to spend more money for more games and more features, even though, wasn't that their tagline? More games, more features, more fun? Yet we got none of them. We got none of them. Alright, so those are the two stories that I wanted to cover in this video, so let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of these stories. Do you think Nintendo is right to be taking down these music channels, or do you think it's stupid and they need to put their music on Spotify if they're going to be doing something like this because people want to listen to their Nintendo soundtracks? And of course, what do you think of the Nintendo Switch Online service potentially getting a tier system? Are you for it? Are you against it? Would you be willing to pay more for more features and more games, or would you just pay more for more games? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I actually want to give a big thank you to YouTube Gaming on Twitter. They actually shared out my Sega Genesis mini video from the other day. Absolutely incredible. I just hit my microphone, so the audio probably just got scuffed right there, but I was absolutely blown away by that. It was super cool to see my ugly face on there being promoted by YouTube, so thank you, Senpai, for noticing me, and as always, guys, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.